Liverpool will play Newcastle at St James's Park on Monday the 25th. And I think it's fair to say that this could be a feisty one because it seems like the two fan bases have collided a lot over the summer over the Isak saga. And, Newcastle will be wanting to get that Champions League spot. So are we now expecting Joe Linton to commit about 100,000 the first 10 minutes? And on a more serious note, is there a potential risk of injury here? Because they are quite an aggressive team.
Yeah, I mean, always kind of against Newcastle. They are so physical, and I wonder whether the players will buy into this thing so as much as kind of fans who are stuck on social media. I mean, Newcastle will be fully committed. The atmosphere there is, the fans and what they will create in the stands will definitely be heightened, and therefore I'm sure that will feed to the players and make it more difficult because they're already a very direct physical side. So it makes it more tricky. But, I'm not sure Joe Linton's going to be any different to how he usually is, which is that he will, commit 6 or 7 fouls without somehow getting a yellow card. That's kind of a given for him. So, I think some of the players probably sympathise more with Alexander Isak than you'd know. Newcastle players I'm talking about, they know what it's like to be in that situation. A lot of them, Anthony Gordon certainly knows exactly what that's like. And I'm sure Johan Wisser, if they get that over the line, he definitely knows what it's like. So, it'll be an interesting one. But I think the main, the main driver of kind of the enmity that's been going on social media, how that will manifest itself on the pitch is that the atmosphere will be incredible, no doubt about it. But I think Newcastle, the players will be up for it because it's a big game. It's a game against the champions. It's a game to prove that they are there and they're going to be back in the Champions League and right up there again. They want to get 3 points on board after failing to do so on the opening weekend. So, I think this is going to be a really, really tricky game for Liverpool.
How do you expect Liverpool to line up? Because I think it's fairly obvious that Ryan Gravenberch is going to come back into the team, and he absolutely should do based on how Liverpool performed against Bournemouth. But then if he comes into the team, someone has to drop out. And if I go through the players, you can't really drop Dominic Szoboszlai because his energy could be so important against Newcastle's physical, aggressive midfield. And then that would leave then either McAllister or Florian Wirtz. And you're not going to drop Florian Wirtz surely against Newcastle. But then McAllister was arguably the best midfielder in the Premier League last season. So how do you set up for this one? I've even seen some fans online say Dominic Szoboszlai at right back so you can fit everyone else in. But is that even something you'd consider?
Well, I mean, if the injuries at right back might be key to that in terms of if we'll see how Frimpong gets on, we'll find out more at his press conference on Friday to see if he is fit and available or whether, I suppose Joe Gomez is an option there as well. But this one's a fascinating one for me in terms of this midfield. And I feel like we're going to learn an awful lot from this game in the selection because, it's been spoken up to me, the possibility about Wirtz moving into the front line as a rotational option. I think in games like this where you want a solid, compact midfield full of running. And I mean, Wirtz does his running and he does the defensive work. He ran 11 kilometres in the game at the weekend, by the way, which is only Szoboszlai and Marcus Tavernier did more. So, and he played fewer minutes than they did. So he is a runner and he can keep you defensively solid. But I still feel the Szoboszlai, McAllister, Gravenberch is more solid as a midfield. And it just makes you think, in these big games, these tough away games where you've got to be really solid, do we see Wirtz off the left-hand side? I don't know the answer to that. Nobody kind of knows the answer to that outside of Slot and his coaches. And I am genuinely fascinated to see what he does in this situation because this is the kind of litmus test really for how he approaches it and whether he is willing to just break up that midfield of last season and add the extra quality that Wirtz brings. I really don't know the answer. And so I can't wait to see what the starting 11 looks like.
In my head, I'd accept a draw if you told me now that there'd be no injuries and everyone would escape St. James's Park all healthy. But what do you think, if I had to push you for a prediction, what would you go for? Do you think that Liverpool can win there or do you think that they will win there?
Oh, they absolutely can win there. I mean, they're a better side than Newcastle, as good as Newcastle are. And I know they beat them in the cup final. Brilliant performance, and he thoroughly took Liverpool apart that day. And the game at St James's Park that last season was a really tricky one as well, wasn't it, for Liverpool? So, but I know with Liverpool, with the quality that they've got, absolutely they can go and win there. I'm just not sure they will. I think I would agree with you. I think you take a draw absolutely now because I think the atmosphere, I think the fact that Newcastle, they might feel a little bit hurt about the fact that their best player wants to go and join Liverpool. And it's the champions turning up. So, all those factors thrown in, and it being a night game as well never really helps the away team. So, absolutely shake hands on a draw now. And then, if you can go into the Arsenal game that follows that and win that looks like a really good return from those first 3 fixtures. So I would shake hands on a draw. But of course, they're definitely capable of winning.
Yeah. Well, we'll just call it the Isaac custody derby, and we'll see who the winner is. But yeah, that was my final question, David. And I would say I'm looking forward to the game. I'm not sure I am based on what Newcastle are, but we'll see what happens, and we'll see what we talk about next Tuesday. But thank you so much for joining us, and we'll see you next time.